Okay, so today we're going to start a new topic. It's a biology topic and it is on health and disease. So when we're looking at health and disease, it's important that we are clear on what we mean by the word health. And even though I'm sure you all have a good general idea of what we mean, you need an actual definition, and I would like you to take this down in your books. So health is defined as a state of physical, mental, and social well-being. So being healthy is not just about not having a disease, okay? There's more to it than that. Your mental health and your social health are also important. And you may be wondering exactly what I mean by each of these terms, so we're going to go through them, okay? When I'm talking about your physical well-being, this one's perhaps a little bit more obvious. If you're physically well, then you are free from disease. But as well as that, you should be sleeping well, having a good diet, and also doing some sort of exercise regularly. So all of these things, not having a disease, sleeping, eating well, and regular exercise will all contribute to you being physically healthy, okay? But again, there's more to being healthy than just being physically healthy. Another important part is your mental health and your social well-being. So social well-being just refers to relationships with other people, how you can interact with other people. Now, this is obviously going to vary massively from person to person. Some people are very extroverted and they have lots of friends and they enjoy being really sociable. Other people prefer to be by themselves, are more introverted and don't like being around lots of people. But what social well-being just means in general is that it's just your ability to form some sort of relationships with other people. So in general, humans are sociable beings. We aren't supposed to live our lives in isolation. We are supposed to live in society and interact with each other in some form or other. And your ability to do this, your ability to form relationships with other people, contribute to your social well-being, although that is going to look very different for different people depending on your preference. The last of it, mental health, okay, is just your feelings about yourself, okay? So your general feelings of your self-esteem, your general feelings of self-worth, just are you happy in yourself as a person? That would be your mental well-being, okay? So when you're talking about health, you need to consider physical, mental, and social well-being. That's the official definition that you need to know. And in terms of disease, so please do take this down into your notes. If you need to pause, then do so and write it all down, and then you can press play when you're ready. But I'm going to scroll down a little bit to now look at disease. So again, you could probably all give me a good general idea of what a disease is, but a simple definition that we're going to use is just a cause of ill health that is not the result of injury. So obviously, if you break your arm, you're injured and you're in pain, but you haven't got a disease. So it's some sort of ill health that hasn't been caused by injury. And in general, with diseases, we have two categories. We have got communicable diseases and we have got non-communicable diseases. And you may remember this from year 8, okay, the difference between the two. If it's a communicable disease, it's a disease that can spread from person to person. Okay, so a disease that can spread, and then non-communicable will be the opposite, and it's a disease that cannot spread from one person to the next. And obviously, communicable diseases, and one in particular, is getting a lot of attention in the media right now, but we're going to look at some examples in general of communicable and non-communicable diseases. So I've got a list here of 12 diseases, and what I want you to do is I want you to pause this video and then decide whether each of these diseases is communicable or non-communicable, and then I want you to fill that into this table. So if I do the first one for you, asthma, I need to ask myself, can asthma spread from one person to another? The answer would be no, okay? Because asthma does not spread from one person to the other, I would put it here on this side under non-communicable diseases. And I want you to do that with the rest of them. So press pause, fill each disease into the table, picking whether it's communicable or non-communicable. I appreciate that some of these, maybe cholera, tuberculosis, you might not be familiar with, but have a go, press pause, fill it in, and then press play when you are ready to check your answers. Okay, so hopefully your finished table looks something like mine. I have put 7 of the diseases on the communicable side, and I've put the other 5 on the non-communicable disease side. So these diseases will all spread from one person to another, while these diseases will not spread. Now, you may be wondering about cancer, because you could say that, cancer can run in someone's family and it can be passed from one generation to the next within someone's family. Yes, that is true. Some diseases are genetic and can be passed from a parent to their child, but they don't spread from one person to the next in the same way as these diseases do, and we say that they cannot spread, or that they're non-communicable diseases. Don't worry if you're not familiar with all of these diseases. Some of them we're going to study in detail, others we won't. So if we look over here at the communicable disease side, we need to ask ourselves, why do some diseases spread from one person to another while other diseases don't? And these communicable diseases all have something in common. And what they have in common is that they are all caused by pathogens. So all communicable diseases are all caused by pathogens. And pathogen is going to be another of our key definitions. You need to know this. Okay, pathogens are disease causing microorganisms. Okay, so a microorganism that can cause a disease. What exactly do I mean by microorganism? Well, micro refers to the size being very small, and an organism is a living thing. So pathogens are small living things that cause disease. And there are 4 examples of pathogens that you need to know. 2 that you will definitely be familiar with. So a virus, okay, is a pathogen. It's a small living thing that can cause disease. Bacteria is another example of a pathogen, a small living thing that can cause disease. A protist, which you might be less familiar with, but we're going to look at later. And you've also got fungi. Okay, these all count as pathogens. They're all small living things that cause disease. So if we go back up and look at a list of diseases, we can see which pathogen causes each disease. So if you had chicken pox, that is caused by a virus. The flu, also caused by a virus. And obviously COVID-19, we know, is caused by the coronavirus. They're all caused by viruses. Cholera, it's caused by bacteria. Tuberculosis is also caused by bacteria. HIV is caused by a virus, so it's a virus. And then malaria is actually caused by a protist, which you might not know much about, but we will look at later. So all of these communicable diseases are caused by pathogens, by different types of pathogens. And when we say that the chicken pox can spread from one person to another, it's because the virus can spread from one person to another. So now, obviously, this is the main one that we're all talking about at the moment. COVID-19 is caused by the coronavirus. Because the coronavirus can spread from one person to another, the disease can spread from one person to another. So it's really, really important that you are aware communicable diseases caused by pathogens, small living things such as viruses, bacteria. Some of these we are going to come back and look at in detail. So we're not going to do it today, but cholera, tuberculosis, HIV, and malaria, we need to come back and look at in more detail. So we're going to do that in later lessons. We are going to look at communicable diseases in general. We are going to look at the difference between viruses and bacteria. We're going to look at how viruses and bacteria can be passed from one person to another, how the body defends itself against pathogens, and how we use drugs to treat communicable diseases. So we're going to do all of that in later lessons, as well as taking a closer look at cholera, tuberculosis, HIV, and malaria. So don't worry if you don't know much about these diseases at the moment. For the rest of today's lesson, we're just going to focus on the non-communicable disease side. So I've got a range of different diseases here. Most I think you will be familiar with. Arthritis, maybe you're not. So arthritis is just a disease that affects your joints. So your knuckles, maybe your wrists. And what happens is your joints will start to swell and become incredibly painful and uncomfortable. And it typically affects people when they're older. But when we're talking about non-communicable diseases, there's lots of different causes of non-communicable disease, and it will depend on the disease itself. But we can make a few general points about the causes of non-communicable disease. And one thing that can cause non-communicable disease is just genetics. So some diseases, and cancer will be one, are caused genetically. So it can be And we do look at this in a lot more detail in year 10. You look at genetics in a lot more detail, but it's something to do with your DNA. So it's some abnormality in your DNA that can either be inherited from your parents, or it can happen spontaneously just as you live your life. So it'll be something that goes wrong in your DNA that will cause these diseases, and cancer will be one. But another main one that we're going to look at in more detail today is just your general lifestyle. And by lifestyle, I mean your diet, so what you are eating. I mean exercise, how much you are exercising, and also things like if you're a smoker, if you're drinking alcohol, if you're doing drugs. So all of these things we classify as being your lifestyle, and your lifestyle choices will have an impact on whether you get some non-communicable diseases. So an obvious example here would be diabetes. So type 2 diabetes in particular is linked with obesity. If you have a high-fat diet and you're not doing much exercise, that can be a cause of type 2 diabetes. It can also lead to heart disease. Okay, a high-fat diet is going to put a lot of strain on your heart, and your lifestyle choices could then also lead to heart disease. So I am going to stop this video now, and I'm going to move into the second video where we look at some lifestyle choices and how they lead to non-communicable diseases in a little more detail. So I need you to watch the second video also. At the end of the second video, there are going to be some questions, and I want you to complete those questions and then mark them yourself. The answers will also be included in the video. So please go to the next video, watch the video, do the questions, mark the questions.